Hey guys, welcome back to another video. So in this video I wanted to extend on the uniform and we're going to be making the tie and vest. Starting with the tie, I put a measuring tape around her neck to see how long I needed it to be. And then I just made a rectangle that was 2.5 inches wide and the length that I just got. And just a little heads up, I did end up making this longer, which you'll see later, and I'm pretty sure that was 18 inches. So I have folded this in half and I've done 3/4 of an inch along the top there, and I'm just marking this all the way down the bottom at an angle. So this is not originally my pattern. This is from Lomi's Playground. I'll link her video in the description below if I can. She explained this really well, but I just wanted to show you my process and how I struggled with this. So here's my first attempt. So the main reason I think I struggled is because my fabric was a little bit too thick. But we are just starting with pinning the top and the bottom and sewing that in place just like that. And I'm clipping into those corners and those tips just to make sure it lays as flat as possible with the least amount of bulk. And then we're just going to turn that inside out. So this is what it looks like at the moment, and I'm giving that a good press with the iron just to make sure it lays nice and flat. And once we have done that, I'm just going to fold that in half again in the length, and I'm going to sew down that side. So I did overlock this in the beginning, as you saw. In my final one, I don't think I ended up overlocking this. I played around with so many options, but here we go. I'm struggling, cutting out a lot of the footage of me struggling, but I did struggle with turning this inside out. So here we go. We finally got the first one inside out and just giving that a press with the iron as well. And this is what the tie will look like. And this is the reason it failed. It is way too short. Yup. Yeah, that's not working. Okay, here's another attempt. Yay, struggled through that again. And this one is actually too thick. I managed to tie it this time. Still, like, the length is better, but it's just too thick. Here we go, like a really short tail there. And there it is, the tied tie. But nope, still not it. Back to the drawing board. Okay, so yes, I did have at least like 3 more attempts of this. One of them I couldn't turn inside out. The other one just wouldn't do it. And as you can see, I actually used like a different lining fabric for this one. It ended up working. It doesn't stay flat against her chest, so she will have to hold it. But hey, we got through that eventually. And I did sew a little ribbon just to the back there to keep the little tail of the tie together. And this is what it will look like. I did decide to not undo the tie and just leave it as it is. And with her holding in place, it looks really good actually, not like it's struggling. So let's continue on with the vest. So for this one, we're going to start with Danny Chu's pattern of the t-shirt. But we're not going to need the sleeves. And we're going to make a few adjustments to the pattern. So honestly, just draw half the pattern of this, don't need the whole one. So just cut and unfold. But I am just starting out by drawing out the pattern where it is currently. So for the vest, my plan is to widen the side so it's got enough room to go over all the layers, and maybe deepening the V neckline. So here I'm just comparing the back, by the way, and I'm just widening that, and I did end up widening that a little bit more. Wow, struggling on my words. And this is what I'm trying to do. Yep, here's my middle line. I should have just done half of it. Anyway, I am just deepening the V because I want the tie to be seen really well. And I am shortening this. Just eyeballing it, really. Okay, time to cut out. So for the cutting out, of course, I folded it in half. So I could have saved myself time and just done only half a drawing. And yep, cutting on the wrong side. There you go, look at that. So just cutting that pattern out and just keeping in mind that the seam allowance is there as well. So same with the neckline, what is on the pattern will be a little bit more after the hemming. And here we go, just the sides there that I'm cutting out as well. And that is the front. So now it's time to do those same steps on the back, but it's up to you if you want to change the back neckline or not. And just remember, mark those pattern pieces. That's the most important bit for any pattern you create, so that in future you know exactly what it was and how to do it. And look, I'm making my life easier and I'm folding the piece of paper already. Great thinking. So here we go. I'm just doing half the drawing here just to keep everything the same, and I'm going to make some adjustments like before. So I'm just taking that front piece because I want to try and see the length. So that is, again, eyeballed it. I did end up changing this in the final thing because somehow it didn't work very well, but it still does a pretty good job. Yeah, just evening that rounding bit. And the back is just a straight line. For some reason, I'm just following the pattern, so keeping that. I made a really subtle change to the back, and as for the sides, this one is a little bit more. As long as you're making this vest with a knit fabric, you don't need to worry about it too much with the whole fitting. So yeah, I'm just showing you how to make this pattern, like just adjusting the pattern from an already existing one. These are my favorite kind of things to do because I don't have to decide how the pattern is gonna work. I just have to make the changes. And there we go, that's the back, and don't forget to label that with back and how you want to cut it. And that's it for the pattern making. And now it's time to cut out that newly created pattern. So I'm just doing this with a rotary cutter because it's easier and I don't have to pin the paper. For the neckband, I do recommend using the original pattern piece, and you can lengthen that a bit more if you want. I couldn't find it, I did find it at the end, but I just winged it and I made it as long as I had at this piece here. And I did trim that down a little bit just to keep it even. And I went to see what it looked like around it before trimming it a bit more at the end, just before I pinned it on. So it doesn't matter too much. These are alright if they're a little bit tighter because it is a knit fabric, so you can just stretch it to make it fit. So now it is time to construct it the same way you would a t-shirt, but we're just starting straight with the shoulder seams along with sewing that with a zigzag stitch. I'm pretty sure I forgot and I used a normal stitch, but I did go back and use a zigzag stitch. So because we're not adding sleeves, it is time to hem this now. So again, this knit fabric doesn't fray, so I'm just folding it in once and use a lot of pins because this goes against the curve. And yeah, I would probably do half first, go back, pin it, and then do the other half. That's actually the easier way to do this. And now just continuing with that neckband. So again, same thing as the t-shirt, I go a little bit more in depth in this whole process, but I'm just making a circle out of that, and I'm using the pins to create markers where I need them to be. And just keep in mind that if you divide this into 4 equal bits, it's not gonna work because it's not 4 equal bits on the shoulder seams. So just the front and the back are the easiest ways to do this, and just line the rest up with a bit of stretching as needed. And once it's all pinned, you're just gonna sew all around that, and this is what it will look like at this point. So yeah, all you need to do now is folding that in to the bottom there. I am flipping that seam on the inside up so that it's hidden in here. And this is a little bit hard. If you don't want a seam to show, you can always hand sew this and do like strategic place seams. But I knew I was gonna end up doing a really nice something around this, which I'll show you in a second. So just continuing with sewing the sides up. And yes, sorry, I did do this out of order before going back. There we go. And here we go. That is me trying to figure out the bottom bit, which just wasn't lined up. So I'm winging the whole bottom. So hemming time is the best bit. And now I actually really enjoyed this. I took some normal sewing thread and layered that up a few times. You can also use embroidery thread. And I'm just doing a running back stitch along the bottom of this, and I'm doing 2 rows of this. So the first one is right on top of that sewed where we did the hem, and then the other one I did on top of this. So yeah, just back stitching this. It was a little bit harder, but you know, get through it. There you go. And I'm also going to be doing this on the neckline. And now that it's done, it is time to put it on. So the best way to do this is to remove her head. This doesn't hurt her. And I am just keeping her hands on since there are no sleeves to worry about, and it just goes through easily. And just pulling that on. It is a little bit difficult, but just keep in mind it isn't stretchy fabric, so just keep working. There you go. And that's it for this video. Well done if you followed along, because I actually really enjoyed making this vest. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps my channel out. And while you're at it, press that notification bell and leave a comment down below on ideas and questions you may have, and I will happily answer those. And I will see you all next time. Bye!